Hi everybody, I'm Mike.
And I'm Emma.
And today we're going to unbox and build the Riptide model rocket from Estes. Picked this guy up for about 18 bucks at Hobby Lobby. This is Victor, he's right here. Say hi, Vic. So check it out, and we hope everybody can enjoy it just like we did. Let's see what we got. This is our first time ever building or playing with model rockets, so.
Oh wow, it is already built. Look at that.
Well, that's pretty easy. We bought this as a kit from Hobby Lobby, so it says.
If you want to go to Hobby Lobby, you can go and buy it.
Yeah.
But if you live somewhere else, we're in the Woodlands.
Yep, that's right. We picked this up off the shelf, so everything we're about to take out of the box comes with it. And I think all it says is that you need to buy the motors for it, and the wadding, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
It even says on the side.
Yeah. So, alright. So what Emma has there is the
nose cone and like the body of the rocket.
Fuselage. So the next thing out of the box is this disc here. Figure out what that is later.
I think this is the disc they use.
It's the part of the launch pad because it's tucked into this bag with.
It's the golden disc of Space's sounds. The golden disc.
All right. It is the golden disc of space sounds.
I don't know what it's called.
We got 3 legs here. Okay. You want to take the plastic off?
Yeah, I'll take the plastic
Careful.
off.
That's the rocket. You probably don't want to damage that.
Yeah.
Next out of the box, it looks like the ignition system.
I can't take this off. It's taped hard.
This one's already open. I'm not gonna lie. I used this to test fire a couple of rocket motors earlier just to make sure that this worked. And we got a good sense of what the different motors you could buy would do in this rocket.
Okay, I think I got it.
Fun fact, you have to supply your own batteries, and it takes 4 AA batteries, but we were able to use it for at least 3 motor test fires. So we'll post some videos of those just so you can see what actually happens to the motor when you ignite one. So we don't need this for now. We'll set it right here.
So, this thing's made of cardboard?
Yeah, don't break the fins. Those are important.
Yeah, I'm trying not to, but this plastic is...
Little help goes a long way. Okay.
Look at these fish friends. Glow, glow.
You got it.
So this is where the parachute comes from.
That's right.
With
That's
the
nose.
wadding under it.
That's right. That's called the nose cone, right? Look at that. You have a rocket. Voila. Here it comes. Okay.
You cannot throw this until you cannot throw this.
No, yeah, I wouldn't throw it.
Until it just fully breaks and you can't use it anymore, I would throw it.
This looks like the guide rods for the launch system, and we've also got.
The guide rods help guide the rocket up.
That's right. Well, from the launch pad, it guides the rocket to make sure it goes straight and not doing flips across the field or anything.
America.
Okay. And this looks like the parachute that will attach to the shock cord in the model rocket. So, all right. Well, let's look at doing that. So.
What are we gonna build first?
Well, it comes with instructions, so we'll see what those say.
I have to bet we're gonna have to build the launch pad first.
That would be a good idea, so you have something to stand it up on.
Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned it, here are the launch pad assembly instructions. Look at that. It's not extremely prescriptive, but hey, we'll make it do. Alright, so for the launch pad, we give this thing something to stand up on. We've got these 3 legs And this centerpiece here.
Okay.
There's something taped onto the bottom of it.
We don't know what that is, but we won't pull it off just for safety's reasons.
They call this the hub. Well, it looks like we have to pull it off to assemble it. So they're calling this piece the hub.
The hub.
Not this center thing.
Oh, that's where the parachute goes? Or no, the water?
No, the water goes inside the rocket, I believe.
Like.
This is the launch pad. This is what is going to stay behind when. Oh, this is the safety cap. I got you. All right, so what it says is we take these 3 legs here and we lock them into this piece here.
Locked and loaded.
To build a tripod.
Oh wow.
Man, was that easy or what?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was easy.
Alright, the next thing it says we do is we build the guide rod. Actually, that might have been step 1. I'm not gonna pretend that it might not have been. It says you gotta put this thing together end to end. So you take these little protective caps off of there.
They look like
and you see there's one rod that has turned down ends on either side, so it gets smaller on either end. And these the other 2 rods have holes in the bottom of them. So we just put it together. Like that. I'm guessing you want to make sure these are all the way inserted because you don't want the rocket to have anything to hang up on. That's how I see it pretty well. On its way into low Earth orbit. Into outer
so that's
space.
the guide rod.
Yep, that's the guide rod.
So if you completed the rocket,
This goes on.
the guide rocket would go the guide thing would go in the rocket?
Yeah, something like that.
Or like attached to the rocket?
Well, check out that thing on the side of the rocket. There's a little guide there
Oh
that the rocket will probably
there
slide
were
down.
right there. See that?
That's where the guide is. We're going to put the guide rod through that. So in the launch pad, in the top of this thing, there's 2 holes, different sizes. One big, one small. And I'm guessing that's to accommodate a larger size rocket and guide rod. I would imagine that some of the more powerful rockets, these are considered low power. Some of the more powerful ones might need a larger diameter guide rod because they may be a little more violent coming off the launch pad. So we're going to use the small one because it fits what came out of the box. We put this little plastic spacer piece on here, just like the directions said. And then it looks like we're ready for the golden, what'd you call this thing?
Disc.
The golden space disc.
This golden space disc.
Not to be confused with the golden space disco.
That's a song.
Sounds like a cool place. I don't know if it's a song or not. Maybe it should be.
It should be a
And in no particular fashion, line up the grooves.
golden space disco.
Okay, yeah, you set it down and then you turn this little orange piece here and the disc falls into place. Like so. It
Kind of
wobble
wobbly,
a little bit there. We'll see what happens.
but we'll manage.
Let's do it. Let's do a test fit with the rocket.
Test fit.
We pick it up and we slide the guide rod through the little black plastic guides and
Success landing.
I think we built our first rocket. But wait, there's more.
What?
So we can walk through actually loading the rocket with the wadding and the parachute. And then the final step will be to put a motor in it so it's actually ready to fire. So let's do that. Let's take her back off the launch pad here. Go.
Houston, we have no
And
problem.
we'll set this guy in the back. Okay.
Oh,
So
what was the name of the space shuttle?
sorry, there was a side one. Completely ignored that. It is very prescriptive.
Wow!
That's just the
Imagine that, folks.
insert stereotype here, not reading directions. Who needs directions when you have an extra set of hands?
These
Okay.
hands were made for monkey bars and building
And ice cream.
rockets.
I was gonna say ice cream, you said rockets. Okay. There's also
Rockets.
instructions. There's also instructions included on how to insert the batteries into the
I'm
igniter.
pretty sure we know how to do that. You just shoot,
So
shoot.
yeah, I've already done that. Like I said, I actually use that igniter to do a couple of test burns on rocket motors just to see what the different size and designations of motors would do. And we'll post some videos of those because it was pretty neat just to see what the motor
He
does
took
on its own.
videos of the motors
I did.
bursting right through a brick wall. Not through, just nudging a brick wall. But it was pretty
Nah.
cool.
Alright, warranty statement. I don't think we're gonna need that. And lastly, we have the instructions on how to actually attach
Woo!
the parachute or recovery system to
Yeah,
the shock cord. How to load the wadding. The wadding is some cheap, someone described it as cheap toilet paper. I haven't opened it, but we'll see. We also bought this at Hobby Lobby because you need it to protect the ejection stage of the motor or the nose cone and payload from the ejection stage of the motor. So after the rocket ignites and burns and goes up in the air, it delays for a few seconds
And then
depending
it's
on
gonna
what you have.
smack my face.
And then it fires a charge upward that pops the nose cone off, and when it comes out, the parachute gets exposed and it drifts. But the wadding goes between that ejection charge in the top of the motor and the parachute so that when the ejection charge fires, it doesn't burn your parachute, and therefore your rocket comes crashing to the ground at whatever terminal velocity it's gonna fly.
And it'll probably break if it comes at a very high.
And then everybody runs and screams if it's coming back to the crowd. Alright, so cut the package, take the parachute out. It's a pretty thin plastic.
They should have made it
Construction.
red, white, and blue.
I can understand why they're worried about it getting burnt.
It's not very.
It's not a lot to it.
It's kind of flammable, guys. Kind of flammable.
Alright, so it says there are loops in the string, and there appear
Gonna
to
say
be.
loop, there it is.
Yeah.
Loop, there it is.
Nice. Alright, so we'll make a loop out of this.
So, question time. Why do we need to fold it, Daddy?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Emma. We need to fold it so it fits down inside the body of the rocket. And also so that when it does deploy, it can come unfold, flare out like it's supposed to, and actually catch the rocket, decelerate it. Ooh, deceleration, that's a good word.
Deceleration.
That's a good word.
I will decel you.
You gonna decelerate me? You give me the cue to slow down now? Alright, so it says you make a loop out of it like that. You pass that around the cord.
It's kind of like
Underneath.
porn, how you weave porn.
And then you pass the parachute through it, just like a half hitch or so. Something like that. It's been a while since I've tied knots like that. It is a knot. It's not a knot.
It's not.
It's definitely not a knot.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not a knot. It's a knot.
And then it says, so that's step 3, is to make sure that's on there good. And it's time to install the wadding.
Let's see if this is actually cheap toilet paper.
When I bought this at
Hobby
Lobby, there were 2 sizes. You get, this one's the smaller one. It's approximately 75 sheets. I guess they don't have people
Of
counting
toilet
toilet paper. But there was a larger pack. I think it was 150 sheets.
Oh wow, that looks like.
What this tells you is to use 6 or 7 squares.
Oh wow, it kind of feels like part of
It does feel like a napkin. You know, if it were toilet paper, you probably wouldn't use it unless you were in real trouble. But
this could be like bandages. This would soak up blood.
It's true. Well, let's hope there'll be none of that. So it says just to wad this stuff up. Like
That's why it's called wadding.
I'm gonna turn the rocket so that the shock cord is laying on one side. You can see it's only fixed down in the rocket to the very bottom down in there. So
there's a little hole.
Yeah, there's a hole in the very bottom of it, and then I'm just gonna take this stuff.
Stuff.
Now this says in the instructions to use 6 or 7 pieces of this. That seems like
that's a lot of wadding.
Overkill, which is probably why they sell it to you with in a 150 sheet count.
Yeah, because you can use it 150 sheets times.
Another confession. Well, if you use 3 sheets per rocket and you have a pack of 150, how many times can you fire the rocket?
That'd be 150 times 3.
No, divided by.
Oh, 3.
50. I'll feed you the answer. Homeschool. All right.
It's summer.
That's a good point, I suppose. Okay. So we've shoved that down in there about as far as my fingers can push it down in there.
Yep.
So then it says the next step is to fold up the parachute first by spreading it out like so, folding it down toward the cords, and then rolling it up. I guess that's to make sure it comes undone. And it
just in case this burns, it won't burn up. No.
Okay, so then let's bring this over here so you can see it. We'll feed the cord down inside the rocket. We really don't want this to get tangled up. And then it says to put the parachute
in it.
Straight down in it with the cord facing up. So
like a little subway motor.
Put that down in there. Make sure this is probably making a mess of it.
Boom! Yeah!
We'll see if it survives its first launch, and then nose cone goes on. It feels like it's kind of loose when you stab it down in there.
It just gained some pounds.
That's right. Well, that's a good point. Anything you add to this in the way of mass is going to limit how far a motor will send it into the air, or limit its altitude.
Yes.
Its maximum altitude. Careful. You waving us around like we have a bunch of them. It may not survive its trip to the launch site. So, okay. With the last step in building your model rocket, we completed this much so far, is to actually install the motor that's going to make it lift off. So you can buy these in a pack as well. We got a pack of 3 from Hobby Lobby, and they come in all kind of different sizes and performance, right? Yeah. And they have a letter, number, dash, number designation on the kit. Hold it up for them right there, yeah. On the kit, it'll tell you what model motors that your rocket is compatible with. So if you look on the side of the box, this one says you can use a B44, a B64, a C65, and we'll post some links to what all of that means. But it basically tells you the strength of the motor, the total impulse, and the delay time before it actually deploys the parachute. But to get to the good stuff, the bottom of the rocket, comes Mr. Victor, the bottom of the rocket actually has a cap on it, and if you turn it to the left, lefty-loosey, it has 2 lugs that'll just pop out like that. So this being the top, we're going to put it in the rocket like such, and I can feel a little bit of friction there when I push it in and it gets seated in place. So holds it just like that, it won't slide out. You can kind of feel it when it's in, and then you put
the thing that holds the motor in.
That's right. All you do is line up the lugs with the little holes, and then you give it a twist, righty-tighty, and voila, you can see it installed just like that.
And that's how you install a motor in a rocket.
That's right, that's your motor. The only thing that's left after that is to install the igniter. You see those little guys, two little wires that are connected together. This is actually what's going to use the voltage from the launch system, or I guess what I keep incorrectly calling the igniter, that sends voltage to this. You hook it up with the little clips, it sends voltage, this begins to burn, and it actually ignites the motor. But to install this, you just tear one off like that, you put it in there, you put it all the way in, and then you bend it over, and then you take one of these little pink caps that come with the motors, and you use it to hold the motor, hold the igniter in place. Well, actually, turn it upside down so it doesn't fall out. Hold it just like that. I watched a tip on YouTube about how to make sure you do this successfully, because sometimes it gets a little tricky. That's why having an extra set of hands comes in so useful. You just take the little pink plug and push it down in there on top of it, and if you do it right, you should be able to hold the motor up just by the little electrodes. So there you go. So you're ready to go. You got your launch pad built, you got your igniter, your motor installed, the parachute's in here, and it's ready for liftoff.
Yay!
So we'll see you out there. Bye.
Peace.